And thank you so much for joining us. We have people here in the theater, and we also have quite a group on Zoom. I am Kate Markert. I'm Executive Director here at Hillwood Estate Museum and Gardens, and we are in Washington, D.C. You know, I have to say that since we're on Zoom, too, so people know. So exciting. My pronouns are she and her. And as I begin, I always like to take a moment to gratefully acknowledge the Nacotch tank, also documented as the Anacostan, the Piscataway, and the Pamunkey. And these are the native people on whose ancestral lands Hillwood stands, as well as the diverse and vibrant native communities who make their homes near us today. We are so pleased to have audiences both here, joining us here in the program and also by Zoom. For those of you in the theater, I think some of you know what I'm going to say now. Please make sure all of your devices are silenced so they're not barking or chiming or doing whatever. And for those of you, I do have one that barks. And for those of you at home, you may submit questions via the Q&A function in the Zoom menu whenever they cross your mind, and we'll get to as many as we can from both locations at the end. Now, tonight is the first in a 5-part lecture series highlighting our current exhibition, Fragile Beauty, Art of the Ocean, which I hope you've had a chance to see. It is just a knockout. The upcoming lectures will feature, next week, a National Geographic explorer, like the coolest person on the planet, Tara Roberts. She's a scuba diver. And anyway, you have to read all about her. It's going to be a great program. Then also there's a program with the artist Courtney Madison, whom I'm sure you've seen her work in the exhibition. And Hillwood's very own Deputy Director and Chief Curator, Wilfried Zeisler, and then, of course, Francesca Cartier-Brickell, who will talk to us about pearls. So there are still tickets available, so be sure if you haven't to register. Very soon, though. So tonight, Hillwood's Chief Curator and Deputy Director, Wilfried Zeisler, will moderate a conversation with Morel Doucet and Myrtis Bedolla about Morel's artistic practices and inspiration, including his pieces featured in Fragile Beauty, and Myrtis's work as curator, art consultant, founder, and owner of Gallery Myrtis, and her experiences working with artists like Morel. Now, before I hand the mic, or mics, I guess I should say, over, I will share a little bit about our 3 panelists. Morel Doucet is a Miami-based multidisciplinary artist and art educator who hails from Haiti. His work utilizes ceramics, illustrations, and prints to discuss the impact of climate on gentrification, migration, and displacement affecting Black communities in the African diaspora. Through a contemporary reconfiguration of the Black experience, his work catalogs a powerful record of environmental decay at the intersection of economic inequality, pollution, and policymaking. Myrtis Bedolla is the owner and founding director of Gallery Myrtis, an emerging blue-chip gallery and art advisory specializing in 20th and 21st century American art, focusing on primary and secondary works created by African-American artists. Bedolla has over 30 years of experience as a curator. You'd never know that. You'd never know that. As a curator, gallerist, and art consultant. She lectures and provides professional curatorial services and educational programming to corporate, civic, and arts organizations. Bedolla established Gallery Myrtis in 2006 to raise awareness for artists who deserve recognition for their contributions portraying our cultural, social, historical, and political landscapes, and to recognize art movements that paved the way for freedom of artistic expression. Dr. Wilfried Zeisler is well known to many of you. He is a graduate of the Sorbonne University and the École du Louvre in Paris, and has written extensively on French and Russian decorative arts. He's the curator of this current exhibition, Fragile Beauty, Art of the Ocean. And you can hear him explore this topic even further in his lecture here on November 7th. So now please join me in welcoming Morel Doucet, Myrtis Bedolla, and Wilfried Zeisler.
Thank you so much, Kate, for this introduction. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Thank you, Morel. Thank you, Myrtis, for being here tonight. So I have a series of questions that I will ask you, but before I wanted just to give just a background about this project and the exhibition and how we came about to have this panel here tonight. So as a curator, sometimes when you think about a concept, and here, we wanted to put our collection into a broader context and make it relevant to contemporary audience and put the historic object here at Hillwood in that broader context. So sometimes there is a challenge for a curator to find who will be the perfect fit, the right artist to be featured, who will be creating this perfect dialogue with our historic pieces, but also will be answering or raising the question we want to raise with the concept of the exhibition, so Fragile Beauty, Art of the Ocean. And so I had a few artists in mind, but I wanted to learn more and find more artists. And then I was like, well, I had just met Myrtis and her wonderful gallery. And I thought, why don't I ask Myrtis if she has someone to suggest? And she said, Morel Doucet. And I said, all right. So I went on Morel's website and I was like, okay, I want this, I want that, I want this. But then Morel is so successful that I was told well, many of these works are here, there, so it will be kind of complicated. So I was very, very fortunate. We were all very fortunate that one piece, which was perfect fit for the show, was in Myrtis' gallery. And in one is Morel's studio. And so we were able to bring them in. And so that's how the Christening of Land and Water and Olokun are now in the exhibition. And now we will learn more about, these wonderful, stories around these objects and Morel's and Myrtis' background. So my first question is then for Morel. And there will be a few slides. We will go, through the slides. So Morel, can you tell us a bit more about your background and how you began your career as an artist?
Absolutely. I'm going to move over to a slide. 1 second.
Here we go.
All right. So we're going to go all the way back to high school. So my name is Morel Doucet. I'm Haitian born. I was born in Haiti in 1990, and then my family got political asylum in 1994 to move to the U.S. I was very fortunate when I came to the U.S. Here in South Florida, there was a magnet art system that took students like myself that had raw artistic talent and was able to put us into schools and specialized programs that cultivated that talent. I was recommended in 3rd grade by my art teacher, Ms. Goldman, and then from 5th grade through high school, I was part of a specialized art program. And so this is the work I was doing the end of my junior and senior year of high school, going into my freshman year of college at MICA. So in high school, a lot of the work was dealing with themes of identity, ideas of the double consciousness, and these were things that I was grappling with as a young student. For a very long time, it was very unpopular to be Haitian. Haiti has a very robust history, it's very complex. And so in that time, a lot of the work was about uncovering this identity. So I kind of undergone this metamorphosis of trying to figure out where I stood as an artist, where I stood as a man, what does it mean to be Black in America, and what does it mean to be Haitian in America. And so all of these complex things were grappling in the work as a young student in high school. So fast forward, I was very fortunate. I got a full scholarship to attend the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, Maryland. And it changed my life. For me, I excelled academically, but I wanted to take a leap of faith by pursuing a career in the arts. So art was my passion and the drive, but then if I wasn't an artist, I would end up somewhere in the medical field because that was my second passion. And so I came to MICA as an introvert, and then over the course of that time, I completely transformed as a student. So I graduated MICA in 2013, and then I ended up in museum education. So I joined the team of the Perez Art Museum in 2013, and I was a very young educator, actually the youngest on the team at the time. And I was so early on to the team, I was working with a construction hat. So for a whole 3 months of the Perez Art Museum, I was working with a construction hat, and I was part of the foundation and legacy of what the Perez Art Museum education team is today. So to look back as a young educator, to see the curriculum, to see everything that we built from the foundation, I was part of that legacy. And then around 2016, I left the Perez Art Museum, and then I had another opportunity to join a brand new museum in Miami called ICA Miami. And then I took all of the skill sets as an educator, and then I was able to build the education program from scratch, from the ground up, and implement it. And so so for me, I think about divine timing. So to be part of 2 institutions, to be part of the foundation is unheard of, to be part of that experience. And so a lot of that is how me and Myrtis actually met, where she came to Art Basel. She was exhibiting in Basel. She saw my work. There was no label for my work, but her conviction chased me down to figure out who was this artist. And she ended up finding me, and we just connected. And then it's just been almost like 9, 10 years now of this incredible partnership working together. So
yeah.
Thanks, Marie.
Perfectly to my next question, which is for Myrtis. So do you have more about your background to tell us and how you...
Advancing to my slide.
Here you go. Yes. So about your background and how you eventually came into your career as a gallerist.
Yes, thank you. First, I want to thank you for having me here and this beautiful collaboration. It's always wonderful when we can find a perfect place for Morel's work and his voice to be heard, and it's so impactful, so thank you. Yes, I'd like to start with this painting, which is from my private collection, but was gifted to me by my mother upon my father's passing. My father was an art collector, so my passion for art began, very early on, very early in life. I live with this painting, and as a child, I would stand before it and look at it, contemplate what was going on, imagine the life of these zebras. But I never understood the importance of those experiences until I became an adult. And what I regret is that, I grew up in this home with these beautiful works of art, but I never had conversations with my father about why buying art was important to him, why exposing art to myself and my 2 sisters was important for us. So we just lived in this home with these beautiful works of art on a wall without any context, without any real meaning, beyond their aesthetic beauty. We never talked about culturally why these images were relevant. They just were. And so in becoming an art consultant and dealer and really working with artists and understand the importance of art culturally, historically, socially, why it's so relevant, I encourage now my clients as they buy from the gallery to share the stories with their family members or whomever may become the stewards of their collections as to why acquiring that particular piece was important to them, and the stories behind the encounter of how it came to be a part of their life's experience. As it relates to my journey into the fine art world, so I took, first of all, this great appreciation for art into that profession. My endeavors were to become a CPA. I have a degree, and I know, I always say God has a sense of humor because I was, I'm still very left brain. But so I was taking my accounting skills and marketing skills and I was going to become a CPA. And by divine intervention, I was introduced by a very dear friend to some really talented artists who were, I've been in the business for over 30 years, so this is pre, internet and websites, but artists needed help developing their portfolios. And so I began doing that, using my marketing skills to help them develop those materials. And my friend, being my friend, called all of her artist friends and said, Myrtis is representing artists. And I said, no, I was working with a few of your friends. So it evolved. And I went back to school and took formal art training. And then ultimately, as things became very serious with the direction of my involvement with the arts, I enrolled in the Maryland Institute College of Art, MICA. But I went the path of the curatorial program. And so we both have that in common in terms of our relationship, Morel and I. And so, this beautiful path and 30 years in, the gallery is now, one that is highly recognized for the artists that are represented there, the programs that we offer, and the collaborations with institutions such as the Hillwood.
Yeah, definitely. And that's how we worked all together with Fragile Beauty and wonderful exhibition, and how, we three of us work together. So I have a question for you, Morel, about the Fragile Beauty exhibition, which is, of course, balancing the fascination and admiration we have all for the ocean, and of course that needs to be preserved for future generations. And so, Morel, I know you described the foundation of your work as being inspired by the environment and urban development in South Florida. So can you tell us a bit more about how the environment came to be such an important aspect of your work?
So this is a work that was in Art Basel, Miami around 2016.
That's when I think we met.
This is a work called Clockwork, and is inspired by the Doomsday Clock, and is using the clock as a metaphor for the passing of time, and using the analogy that time is running out. We, as a humanity, have done so much destruction to the environment that we're going to come to a point where there's no return, where no matter what we do at that point, we cannot save the environment. And so living in South Florida, which is essentially ground zero for climate change. I don't know if you guys have seen the news with the hurricane. Across the coast, we've been bombarded by hurricanes. And we can adapt, we can plant certain things, but at a certain point, there's only so much we can do as a humanity. We need to slow down and try to rescind the impact we're having on the environment. And so right now, I'm living the reality of the impact of that. And so as an artist who make work about the environment, I have a luxury that the everyday person does not have, especially communities of color. When I go into conferences, the room is normally Hispanic, and Black communities are not represented. It's not they don't care, it's because they don't have that luxury to come into these particular meetings. And so I use my work as a platform where I can use aspects of beauty, and I give the viewer the agency to decide what is your interaction with the work and what is your stance on this. And so with my work, I've had the opportunity to work with scientists. I've been able to take data and transform it in a way where you can consume it. In Florida, our governor, our former governor, we can't use the word climate change. Scientists are, they're being defunded from certain things, from certain projects. And so you have a government that is stating that the real life experiences they're not validating the experiences that's happening in real life. So if you're a homeowner, there's 4 feet of water in your home, but then the government is like, oh, climate change does not exist. So the reality you are as a homeowner, as somebody in Florida, is contradictory to the entire establishment of that platform that the government is supposed to be operating. And so as an artist, I have, I'm able to walk this thin line where I can take the fact and make it real and accessible.
Thank you. So Myrtis, is that the work you saw the first time and how you came across, Morel's work? That's the work?
That is the piece
All right.
that
So
introduced us, that brought us together. And I thought, oh my God, this artist is a deep thinker. And I saw it just resonated with me very strongly. I believed that he, not having met Morel, was someone who had done their research, that had a strong message that they were seeking to convey. And we love beautiful art and art objects, but I'm also looking for work that has a serious social commentary. And I saw that in this piece. And I thought, oh my God, who is this person? I have to speak with them. And so that is the piece that brought us together.
No, Myrtis, actually. So is that always the way how you build a relationship with the artist you represent, or by discovering a work, or how does it?
I'm sorry, we are going, I'm trying to find the,
Oh,
there's certain
yes,
slides
slides.
that I wanted to bring into my conversation. So please.
Yes, so, okay, no problem. So my question was, can you talk a bit more about the relationship between artists, gallerists, and museums? And so I know, how does it relate to your work with Morel?
Yes. So for me, the relationship with artists, museums, and as a gallerist is symbiotic. As a gallerist, I'm working with an artist to find opportunities and to exhibit the work, and also to support his personal goals in terms of where he wants his work to be exhibited, how he wants it experienced, what messages that he's seeking to convey. And of course, museums play a critical role in that. That is that they contextualize the work in a broader cultural and historic narratives, and also help us to introduce the work to broader audiences. In addition to that, my role is to, of course, find exhibition opportunities, acquisition opportunities, and the integration of educational programming such as this that provides platforms for the artist or myself to able to expand upon the ideas and the concepts that are being addressed in the artist's works, or what the curatorial approach might be, and helping the audience understand why you brought all of these objects and artist works together, and how this just way how they convene, how they come together to speak to the broader narrative and subject matter that you're approaching.
Yes, and that's perfect segment to my next question.
Oh, right. But I'm sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
wanted to
Oh.
share, before we move on, this was Morel's solo exhibition at the gallery. Was it this year or last year? Last year, I'm sorry, time goes by so quickly. And the title, Morel, was,
Water Graves in the 6 Shades of That.
yes, it was profound. And what Morel, well, I will, if you don't mind, would you want to share? I was going to go into curatorial mode, but you're here, so you can speak to what the exhibition addressed.
So in all of my work, I use allegory as the messaging in the work. What does not work is when you're very direct and forceful with people. And so I give the viewer agency to decide how much they want to participate in the work. So this title, so I hold a minor in creative writing. And so a lot of my works are done through the title. And so as an artist, if a didactic has to explain the work, then I think I've failed as an artist. The work should be able to live on its own, and it should give agency to the viewer to insert themselves and see how much of themselves they can see inside of the work. So this title was through a series of writing and reading, where I was looking at the history of water, how water has been here since the beginning. It's this bookkeeper of time. It's undergone transformation, pollution, And right now we're in this next stage uh, of, um, of what is happening, you know? And so the title came as a result of that. I don't know if you want to go deeper.
No, it's beautiful because your work speaks to the environmental fragility along with social justice. And I think that those are two themes that are very critical in the understanding of what is happening in Miami as it relates to the Black community, and then across our continent, where there are people who are denying the fact that we really are living in the midst of climate change. And, but you are documenting, like the silhouettes here are those of individuals in the community of Little Haiti who are being pushed out because the developers are moving further inland. And so while they are being forced out of their homes, what Morel is doing is documenting the lives of those individuals. The indigenous floral and fauna, which will remain even as they're moved out, is what is a part of what you see there in the imagery. So again, very thought-provoking work here. And the work does stand on its own. And we are really proud at Gallery Myrtis to host this exhibition. Something else that should be noted is if you look at the metalwork that's on those homes, that metalwork once existed on those homes, which it was discarded when the homes were torn down. And the work, that metalwork is in the tradition of the Haitian metal workers.
Yeah, so the Haitian metal workers, there was a large community of them in Haiti. And when the earthquake happened, that community was completely decimated. And so upon creating work for the exhibition, I was making the work because aesthetically it was familiar to me. This is what I grew up around. And then through interacting with people that saw the exhibition that came from Haiti, someone informed me that you're literally continuing the legacy of a community that had been completely eradicated. And so some of these symbolism techniques it's only native to Haiti, and the fact that organically, without me even knowing, I started creating patterns and design that literally was resonating from that community that I had no idea about. Another thing, these ironworks is also this signifier for the past. Because now in South Florida, these homes that was very indicative of that neighborhood are all homogeneous in a sense, where all these homes are now hurricane impact windows. And so the flavor, the style of what made that community unique is becoming slowly eradicated and disappearing. And so all the homes look the same. It's like a white box with hurricane impact windows, and that's what the communities are becoming as well. So I retain a little bit of the bright colors to celebrate the past and what that community used to be about.
Thank you. So your question was also about the relationship that I have with
Yes.
Museums. And so on the left is a photograph of Morel and I, along with curators from the BMA who conducted a studio visit. So I have a lot of relationships with museum curators. And when the opportunity allows, we either invite them to visit our gallery to experience, like, for example, Morel's exhibition, which they all came to. But it just by luck, they were all in Miami, and so we all went to Morel's studio. Another example of my relationships with museum curators is that Morel and another artist that I represent, M. Scott Johnson, were featured in an exhibition in San Francisco, the Museum of the African Diaspora. And this Kijo Lee was the curator and director, and she was in conversation with them during their exhibition, Unruly Narratives. And because we have a global footprint, I wanted to share this exhibition installation photo. This is our exhibition during the Venice Biennale. And Morel's work is on the left side of the room, and that was in 2022. And then lastly, I also have relationships with the State Department and participate in their Arts and Embassies program. And Morel's work is now in the embassy in Ethiopia, in Adidas. All right.
Perfect. Yes.
Back to Morel now.
Yeah, no, but absolutely fascinating. And you were sharing about, the deep stories behind Morel's work. So I would love for the audience maybe to learn more about, the works that are on view in the exhibition by Morel. So we can see one here, Olokun, but we have also the Christening of Land and Water in the exhibition. So if you could share with us more information or more details about these two works.
So I don't like to give too much, but I'll kind of give context.
Okay,
To the
sure.
work, because again, I want the viewer to
context.
insert themselves in the
Yes.
work. So I work in multiple mediums. I don't have a favorite or a love. For me, the message dictates the medium of my work. And so for me, ceramic, it's one of the most compelling mediums as an artist to work with. Ceramic, it transcends history, it transcends time. It's part of our human history. An archaeologist can go into a space, they can dig up the shards that is left behind, and we can understand so much about human history based on what is left behind. So we can learn about the dietary of that culture. We can learn about the rituals, the funerals of that culture. And then if there's design on the pottery, we can learn about certain aesthetics or story. And so ceramic as a medium, it transcends time, it transcends history. From a religious point of view, you can think about I'm working with this material that's been here since the formation of the time. And so when I use ceramic to create my work, I'm literally using part of our human history through fire and transformation to create objects that are going to be here beyond me. So ceramic, it's infinite, it's permanent. It can withstand fire at over 2,000 degrees in the oven. And so as an artist, I have responsibility to create work that are compelling, that I can step back from and let the viewer insert themselves. And so from the work in this exhibition, it's if you can see it, there's like a semi-human face as the base. And then there's the marine life that's around it. And so essentially, this nature reclaiming what it rightfully has. And so that's like a simple term from that particular work. And then I use porcelain for the works in the exhibition because porcelain, there was a point in our human history where porcelain had the same monetary value as gold. And so someone that was sophisticated or refined, one way they would show that without verbally saying that I have money is they would have porcelain somewhere in the mantle, somewhere in the entrance of the home. And so I use porcelain because it has the same reverence and elevation that it comes from nature. And so by using that particular medium out of clay, it's given the same status and elevation to the context of the work.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. So I think I have, one more question for Myrtis.
Okay, all right.
Here we go.
Then you can go back.
Okay. Just in a few words, maybe. I know as a gallerist, you represent many artists. And so are there any challenges you and the artists you represent have faced over the years?
Yes. So I'll go to the challenge slide. Here we are. So that's a really good question, and I love addressing that one. So Black artists have faced institutional bias in the art world. And as a gallerist, I have faced challenges and barriers that have prevented my gallery from participating in major art fairs, being denied access by, the application was not accepted. Why is that critical? It is because those venues allow for my gallery and, of course, the artists I represent to access, to be in front of, curators from museums, prominent art collectors, who may not come to my physical space in Baltimore. The fairs allow for great exposure and opportunity, which is how we came to be part of the Venice Biennale. So it was because the curators from the, not the curators, but individuals who work for the European Cultural Center in Italy discovered my gallery at an art fair during Basel a couple of years ago. And a year later, we received an invitation to participate in the fair. And so I asked them why it took them a year to, send the invitation. And they said, well, we've been watching you. So we've been watching your press. We've been watching your social media activities. We've been following your artists, going through their vetting process. And we qualified, and the official invitation was extended. So the gallery exists to provide a safe place, a platform for artists who want to offer like a counter-narrative to stereotypes. And also, we engage in dialogue, or their art engages in dialogue around race, identity, and just a social construct. And going back to the slide for the exhibition, or not the exhibition, I'm sorry, the gallery, here, this is another artist, Ronald Jackson's work, and that was a solo exhibition of his. But I wanted to bring attention to the Tea with Myrtis series, because we provide a lot of educational programming that goes along with our exhibitions. And the Tea with Myrtis series is really kind of special because it's a more intimate setting. It is a formal tea. This is a place setting at one of the teas, in which we invite scholars and arts professionals, appraisers, legal advice, to talk about themes related to the exhibition, or where we have our collectors, again, going back to the failed conversations between my father and myself, whom I never had an opportunity to sort of get in his head and understand why he was so passionate about his collecting, and why he wanted my sisters and I especially to live with works, to be surrounded by works that were so important to him. And so we talk about those things during the programs. A very successful series, and and people really appreciate that, because it is an intimate setting. We can only accommodate about 30 individuals, and then we have, of course, the panel. So these are the ways in which we connect, the ways in which we educate without educating people. We invite them in to speak freely, sometimes challenge us. We don't have to always agree. We just have to be in agreement that there's a safe space where you can come and share your opinion and your thoughts, and Gallery Myrtis is a place for that.
And you should definitely go.
Thank you.
So, I would like to learn more about what's next for both of you.
All right.
That would be great to share with us.
So I've been very blessed this year, where I'm focusing on public art. So this is not the final concept, but this is an upcoming project for the city of Coral Gables in Miami, Florida. This is going to be my first bronze work of art in the city. So it's a permanent installation in their city hall. And this work is going to celebrate the Black and Bahamian residents of that city. They have been there since the early 1920s. And they essentially, actually before the 1920s, they laid the foundation for the city. They've been under-recognized and kind of swept under the rug as being the builders of the city. And so next year, the city of Coral Gables is celebrating their centennial anniversary. And after a very rigorous competitive process, I beat out 10 other artists to be officially the artist chosen. So this is going to be, it's a work in progress. So I'm super excited. So yes, I'm working on my first bronze work of art.
I'm so proud. And so for me, the next exhibition in the gallery will open on October 28th, and we are featuring the award-winning photographer Devin Allen. The name of the exhibition, the title of the exhibition is The Textures of Us. Devin became known during the Baltimore Uprising. His photograph appeared on the cover of Time magazine. In addition to that, I have two projects abroad. One, I will not be in Baltimore for Devin's opening, but we have a trusted team of individuals who will be there. So I will be in the Bahamas at the Fuse Art Fair, where I will be featuring the work of Wesley Clark. Wesley was awarded an artist in residence there. He's there now, producing a beautiful body of work that will be debuted during the art fair, which opens on the 23rd of October, and we will be there until the 27th. We'll be there longer to deinstall, but it ends on the 27th. And then just recently, I was invited by the U.S. State Department to present at the Dakar Biennale in Senegal. So I will be leaving on November 5th, and we'll be presenting on the date was just changed, on the 16th. And I will be talking about the African arts impact on the American art market.
Fascinating. So that's can wait.
So we're a little busy.
Yes, definitely. So is there anything else you would like to share with the public tonight before we open the floor for questions?
I have a lot of images, so just anything that you saw when we're sliding, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to go into anything that caught your eye.
Here we
I
go.
think you should go back and pull up some of your images.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, this one.
Ah.
So this is a commission in Miami for Facebook that is now Meta. This is actually an interesting piece. It's called The Ocean Dances Over Sun-Buttered Mountains. And it's an allegory for the coral reef bleaching that's happening in South Florida. And so the work is mixed media. The majority of it is ceramic. And then there's a few ocean elements that are part of the work. So it's a permanent piece. It leads you down the hallway into their conference room. So it's a very fun piece. And they gave me free agency to do whatever I want. So that's a dream project. Let me see. Another fun piece that has a cool kind of history behind it is this piece over here. So this is called the Brown Menagerie. And this piece was in response to a study that was done around the color brown. So this was done in South America. They went into a schoolyard with a box of crayon, and they gave the box of crayon to 1,000 kids, and they had to choose one color out of the box of crayon. And so out of 1,000 kids, all the colors were chosen except for the color brown. And so the study went on to talk about the psychology around the color brown and how is it implicit to our human psyche that we connect brown to the color of decay, the sun that is rotten, and then how does that socially, economically impacts communities of color that are brown. And then within the hierarchy of that, there's the working class, the disabled community, and different aspects of that. So it's a work that is speaking about class in society. And so I found a way where I wanted it to look like chocolate, but it's made out of porcelain. So it's like this tongue-in-cheek between the desire, as well as, what does that mean? To be wanted, to be a fetish, but then that as well. So that's a fun piece that I did. And then in terms of, I guess, in the body of work that I've done, these are two of my most very dear to me. So one work was commissioned by American Craft Magazine. And this piece was done in response to the assassination of the Haitian president, Jovenel Moise. And then this piece here, Tea of the Queen, it's about the relationship between Haiti and the French government. For those that don't know, Haiti was the first black republic in the Western Hemisphere. And we gained our independence, but as a result, we were punished as a result of that. And so we had to pay back the French what is equivalent today to over $32 billion. And so that money that we had to pay back the French is what crippled the economy, education in Haiti. And so a lot of what you guys see in the news did not happen overnight. It was over a century of having to pay reparation back to the French because the farmers lost their sugars and things like that. So this piece was created around the idea that what happened if the Haitian government and the French got back together around a conversation and they agreed to pay Haiti back this money that was wrongfully asked to be paid. How will that transform the economy and the life of the island moving forward? And so that's like a little bit of context to why I made that piece. And then that's that. And then this is a different body of work here. This is coral reef underneath the microscope. So this is the forms inspired by that. And this body of work was comparing the fragility of being black in America to the fragility of the environment. And so if we as a society can come together and fix the issues, then maybe we can actually come and fix the environment. Because the environment transcends all of that, but we can't even fix issues amongst ourselves, then how are we going to, together as a global collective, even fix the environment? So that's like the idea behind this body of work here.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And I think we may have questions from the floor or from the Zoom. So we have a mic here for the questions.
I have two questions, but I'm going to contain myself because I
Well, you can ask
understand
two.
decorum. And I will offer it to both of y'all. My name is Amrata Morris. I'm a organizer, activist, but now I'm in philanthropy, and I fund movement organizations across the country. And I'm curious, given that both of you, Myrtis, in terms of the artists that you represent and often what you're attracted to, and then kind of with you and just the foundations of your work around climate justice and gentrification and displacement, I'm curious about the ways in which you all have been inspired by acts of resistance, right? Like how folks are pushing back. I mean, one of the things that as I was thinking about you being in Miami, I mean, I had already registered for this and everything, but then it just so happens that a few days ago, the Miami Workers Center and Power U, which is like a youth organizing group in Miami, they just celebrated their 25th anniversary. They brought all these folks back, organized over 2 decades of organizing and pushing against displacement, against the ways like Haitian communities and elders are being pushed out. Are there ways, in addition to, yes, kind of the ocean coming in, developers creeping in, right? Are there ways in which, in addition to the decay and destruction, that either of you all are inspired by the ways communities are rising up and pushing back? And is there a way that either shows up in your work, right? Or in themes that you are attracted to through artists that you come upon either locally or globally?
As an educator, I stepped down from teaching in the museum field, but throughout the year, I'll dedicate normally 6 to 8 different programmings where I go back into these communities, and I do workshops. I go into the classroom. Even when I was working in the museum, the idea of representation was important to me. And so, with my students, like football and basketball is great, but maybe one of y'all might make it to the NFL, And so by me going into the classroom, I go as an artist, there's infinite possibilities of what you're able to do with that. And so for me, I do that through going back. So I have a deep relationship with the school board, with the teachers, and so I literally, like, I'll hop on a Zoom real quick and like talk to any student, any school that reached out to me. And so for me, I do that because for me, I'm a product of the school system from Miami, and I wouldn't be where I am today without the resources that they afforded to me. And so I do that as part of the work. I have interns, like I had interned 2 years ago. One of them is at Yale right now, and then the other is at Washington University, I think. So even my interns, I had 150 people apply to be an intern, and I narrowed it down to the ones I felt would benefit from the internship. And so from that, I gave him, a glowing letter of recommendation, and I'll just like apply. We'll see what happens. And then when she told me that she got into Yale, I just like shut the door.
No, I don't
Oh, you
do
need that? Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I just give back. I go into the classroom, I talk to teachers, and there's different things like that.
Myrtis,
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely inspired by acts of resistance and often remind artists that their work is their weapon against injustice. I have a gallery that I also allow for it to be a safe space where artists can show their work uncensored. And again, we can deal with the difficulties. It's cathartic. And, that art becomes the outlet for the angst and the anxiety and the concerns. And then we have a space where that work can be shown so you and I can be in dialogue about that. I think we all benefit if we are open and receptive to the understanding of another's plight. And that's another reason that the gallery space is so important to me. It is an outlet for me as well. I cannot create in the way that Morel or any of the other artists do. My writing is my weapon in many cases. That's my creative outlet. And I was raised by, my mother is wonderful, but my father was really kind of more the hell-raising type person. And so he instilled that kind of fearless energy into myself and my sisters. And so we're kind of strong-willed women, and Alex would not attest to that because I'm never strong-willed against him. Just, But yeah, I truly do admire activists, and even when people are protesting against things that I don't understand, I feel that they have a right to do so. Yeah.
There were other questions, I think.
I just wondered, I don't know if you have the slides, but I love the pieces that you have in our current exhibition. I just wondered if there's anything else beyond what we've described them as that you'd like to say about those pieces and what they represent in our current exhibition.
I did show the smaller piece in the exhibition, but the one is similar to that one in the corner, and so it just like I said, I don't give too much about the work, but it just it's been an ongoing. This is a work I did during my senior year of MICA, and so within my work, there are certain themes that I like to revisit again. And so when I make work, I think about there's a certain series or a certain season. And so for right now, I'm in a season of public art, so I'm not doing work at a ceramic, but I know eventually I'll circle back again. But these are works from my time at MICA. And so the works in the exhibition, there's a lot of the aesthetics and sensibilities in these works that you see in the ones in the exhibition as well.
Thank you. Oh, there is another question. Oh.
Do either of you see more lectures in galleries and museums by black curators and black artists now than, say, 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago?
Oh, definitely, and I'm so encouraged by it. There is a effort by many institutions, and I think that Hillwood is a beautiful example of that, that are far more open and receptive and become more inclusive. For years, well, historically, the work of African American artists and artists of color, and even women artists, was seen as less than, and for African American artists or works created by black artists, it was a poor derivative of European art. It didn't reach the standards of and were not embraced into the Western canon. And there's a new thinking about that. There's a new philosophy and approach to that, which I'm benefiting from. I mean, institutions, historically there was a de facto system of discrimination. And so black artists were denied opportunities to exhibit. They did not receive, they were not the benefactors of any funding. And so there's a trend by most, not all, but by a majority of institutions are now righting those historic wrongs. So I am really encouraged by that. I see the fact that black curators are now being hired, highly qualified individuals who have always been there in some cases, but are now having opportunities to bring their talents into the fold.
For me, being a former educator at the Perez Art Museum is considered to be the flagship of South Florida. And for me, I was very fortunate to work under Franklin Sermon, who is a black director of the museum. And so to have that example in front of me and seeing how he's able to move and the opportunities he's brought to the institution has been completely transformative. And definitely, I think, like Myrtis said, a lot of our qualified people, they've been around, they've just been overlooked. And so the fact that now we're in a season where they're getting their overdue, they're given the opportunity, it shows. So.
I saw that one of the titles of your pieces was called Olokun. Could you speak a little bit to how much African-based spirituality informs your work? And if it does inform your work, what do you believe the Orishas would have to say about climate change?
Oh, man. So, even like this one over here is another like African one. So my work, it borrows and makes commentary on indigenous cultures across the entire globe. And so my research have led me to the Australian Aborigines, to the San people of Africa. Actually, this is a good one. This one over here is a hybrid of that. So if you guys are familiar with the bronze carving from Nigeria with the faces, so this is a piece that is a hybrid of that. And this is a work that's making a commentary on migration. So using the metaphor of the birds and the caged bird as well as a metaphor for that, for what is happening in South Florida. And so it's one of those things where the work is not overtly that, but if I could put it in simple terms, if you see it in the work and it resonates with you, then that's something that is part of your agency. And then if you don't know what it is, then it's not for you. so I'll keep it as that.
Okay, so we're going to do one more question from the audience, and then we're going to do some Zoom questions.
All right.
I just wanted to find out more about the medium that you choose. Mm-hmm. Do you have the idea and then go to the medium? Mm-hmm. Where do you end up with painting versus construct versus ceramic?
That's an incredible question. Thank you. It's weird. It's like when a concept or an opportunity is presented to me, I just physically see it in front of me. Like, it's hard to describe it, but I just like if Myrtis emails me, she goes, hey, I'm working on the exhibition. This is the theme of the exhibition. Subconsciously, it just conjures up, I'm like, oh, this work needs to be in mixed media or 2D. This reminds me of a piece. So Myrtis did a program with Christie's. This is a bad image of it. But I remember when Myrtis
Oh my God, that
had
piece is
received
so
this piece in
amazing.
person, it was completely different from what I was working on. So when she got it, I remember she called me. She's like, Morel, what is this?
No, actually, I was upset because early in his concept, I thought it was lovely. When I received it, I was like, oh my God, I want to buy it. But I couldn't because it was committed to Christie's. And it is exquisite. It is masterful. And that's why I was upset because I was like, oh darn. And I signed the contract and I couldn't bid on it.
Yeah.
So I was really
So
upset.
this is, like I said, this image is hard to see it. You have to see it up close. But there's so many things that's happening. There's silk screen, there's like glitter, there's mixed media textures on there. And so it was one of those work where, Myrtis did this incredible partnership. And as a young artist, I was just like, so I'm having work in Christie's. What does that even look like for me? This is something that's gonna live on the internet. And so I went back. This piece, I did it over like 3 times before I got it right to where I wanted it. So I wanted a piece where if I was not here tomorrow, and this piece comes back on the market in 10 years, this piece could be like, was a standout piece that informed other works in this practice. So the piece I showed before was the cage bird. So this was done before, and then the ceramic piece came after. Just seeing the connection between the birds, the cage, and things like that, and how it manifests from one medium over to the next as well.
So I partnered with Christie's. I work with a lot of auction houses in New York, but this was a special project. I contacted them and asked their consideration in hosting a special auction of the artists who were featured in the Biennale. So so I put out the theme, and the artists each created a new piece specifically for that
And then, so
partnership.
this is an evolution from the previous piece. So this is looking at ideas of Afrofuturism and what does it mean blackness in the future when you transcend space, sky, heavens. And so I'm referencing the land, earth, and sky in this particular work, and then using the flora and fauna from the community as well within this work. And actually this work is going to be part of the permanent collection in Miami for the new courthouse. So that's something that we're working on right now to bring it down.
And I'm sad about that too. Okay, I'll get this one. He was like, well, wait a minute. I own several of his pieces already, so it's a selfish passion.
But this is, for me, I've been, you have to think about a lot of these works were created as a full-time museum educator. And so now that I'm in this new season where my sole focus is just working in the studio, I have this complete agency that I did not have before. And so, with Myrtis, we have so many magical things planned moving forward, because now I have the time to really take a deeper dive into the practice. So this is me working full time. As a museum educator, what does the work look like now that I have all this time to myself to really push the work even more?
He has no time. He's so busy. He has commissioned an organization in London, a museum in London. It's so there's so many wonderful things happening for Morel.
I think we have one last question from the Zoom, right?
That's right. We'll wrap up with one more question from Zoom. Someone would like to know if both of you have had a chance to see Morel's work in the exhibition at Hillwood. And if so, what was it like seeing his works in conversation with the other pieces in the exhibition?
Yes, well, Wilfried provided a curatorial tour of the exhibition for both of us this evening, and I love, first of all, as a curator, I love the way that Morel's work was integrated into the theme and the conversation about the fragility of the environment. It's beautifully curated, and I love also the connection between the permanent collection and also in conversation with the contemporary works of art. So just really.
Well, thank you.
And I would say, you know, from a museum education point of view, the didactics are beautiful, but the work lives without it as well, because you did such a phenomenal job with the curation works. Each piece, you see the connection in each work resonates with everything. And so this is one of the best exhibitions that I've seen this year. The layout, everything is really incredible.
It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much. I mean, it was a great pleasure. Thank you.